comments or maybe questions, could you state your name for the record and who you represent?
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Chad Novak, and I'm here on behalf of the Saskatchewan Taxpayers Advocacy Group, which is a grassroots organization proudly standing up for the rights of individual taxpayers. I'm here today to talk about the motion from Councillor Findura speaking to overpasses or underpasses and signage. I want to first of all say thank you to Councillor Findura for bringing this forward. It's a unique idea. It's something I think that needs to be talked about, and I'm glad that you brought this motion forward, and it brings a discussion to the table that I think a lot of residents of Regina have informally, online and other ways, but they just don't have a chance to really, I don't know, feel like their input is really going anywhere. So this is definitely an interesting situation where anybody that's lived in Regina for more than a day knows what the issue is. On Winnipeg St, obviously, we have an underpass there that is extremely low compared to other ones. I'm guessing, I'm not sure exactly. I'm not a trucker. I don't practice to be, but when I'm looking at this situation, I'm trying to do some research, and I'm imagining you guys have done the research as well and found some of the same similar information I have found. One thing I found was through the Ministry of Highways in Saskatchewan, a report. It's a 19-page report. It's shows about 500 different structures throughout the province, primarily that are on highway routes, so it's not necessarily ones that we see within cities and towns. But it is interesting because when I'm looking at these, it shows heights. And the average height, I don't know if there's an industry standard in the trucking industry or not, and if there is, I'm hoping that we have that information handy. If there isn't, I think we can use this as a good basis. The average height, it looks to be at least 5 meters in height, average higher, lower. Some of them, the lowest I've found was 4.5 meters at Moose Jaw, which me growing up in Moose Jaw, I know how bad that one is, and it's well signed now, and people are going, or high loads are having to go around it. However, it is 4.5 meters, which is still higher than what is an average, what is considered to be a standard height of 13 foot 6 inches. So I think that's one of the things we need to look at. The second thing is we need to look at exactly as what actually is causing these situations. Have we asked the Regina Police Service for a report from all of these collisions that have happened? I know that they're not necessarily there all the time, but I'm sure that they're on a majority of the cases, and they would take reports, sometimes charge the people, sometimes not. But I think that would be an excellent way for us to find exactly what is the cause of these things. I know myself, when I hear through the grapevine, so to speak, typically the answer that I'm hearing from truckers and from people being affected, it's not that they couldn't read the signs, that it's not a difficulty in interpreting the metric system, which we've had since I was born. It's not that. It's more of, apparently GPSs typically will tell truckers that, this is the quickest route. Of course, the route in the GPS will not tell you that, how high it is necessarily. Maybe it does, I don't know. But that being said, so GPSs are to blame, and I'm not saying that we should blame electronics and technology, but that is one of the situations. So having better signage there, is that going to fix that problem? Absolutely not. The other thing we need to look at is the age of this underpass. How long has it been around? I'm guessing by the height of it and by where it's located, it's been around for quite a number of years, potentially back into the 1920s, I don't know. And based on that, the height back then requirement was different than what we have today. So we need to look at what the industry standard is today. When was the last time that actually was physically measured? Because as you can appreciate, asphalt gets piled up over years, and I've seen more than one media report that the truckers that are involved, they are adamant that their trucks should have fit under 3.8 meters. So the question becomes, well, is it actually 3.8 meters, or is it 3.79? Is it 3.72? And what can we do to fix that? So can we raise it even higher? What I'm saying is, like, an average industry average I'm seeing, an average truck is 13 foot 6, which is about 4.3 meters. So we just raised it a half meter. I mean, obviously it's a lot of work, but if it hasn't been touched in 80 years, then maybe it's about time we do it. And have there been alternatives considered in terms of providing information to truckers. Obviously, truckers are professionals. They know what they're doing. They've been working in the industry for a number of years. Sometimes it's rookies, sometimes it's GPS, and sometimes whatever the reason is. But the reality of it is that we need to take a stance. This measure, this recommendation almost feels like it's kind of a way for the city to avoid being blamed rather than actually fixing the problem. So I think that's something that we should look at. So I thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Novak. Are there questions for the delegation?
Mr. Novak?
Thank you.
Question, I was told that a lot of these incidents that have been happening, we did a lot of signage and more signage further away from the structure. I was told that, and my main purpose would be education. What would you say to that? I mean, educate, but who should be educating who on this? Would it be, in your mind, would it be us as a city of Regina educating the world about it, or would it be if the world come to see us, like a trucking association, they need to be educating their drivers, or in your opinion, what would you say? Well,
I think it needs to be a shared responsibility. I think the city and the Trucking Association definitely need to take responsibility because, after all, each of their members of the public are affected by this. Whether it's me as a driver of a vehicle having to be inconvenienced by that and having to go around detour, whether it's one of the truckers in the Trucking Association being impacted by them. I think it's a shared responsibility. The other part, I guess, on that comment, I would have to ask is, where are we getting these comments from in terms of people are saying that we need increased signage, better signage? My question is, where are those? Like, I haven't heard that, so I'm just curious to know where those comments are coming from. And I'm all in favor of better education, 100%. I'm all in favor of better signage, but adding an imperial measurement to a metric system that we've been ingrained into in our country, it's almost a negative cop out for a person to blame their way of their not understanding the metric system. I mean, if you live in Canada, you lived in here for a while, either you know it or you're going to be forced to learn it one way or another. And I mean, I've grown up with the metric system, and I still always think also in miles per gallon and in miles per hour sometimes. But that being said, I'll be the first to admit that meters mean nothing to me too. But if I'm in that industry, that's gonna be one of the first things I look at. That's just my personal way of. I mean, the drivers obviously share a significant part of that responsibility because they're the ones ultimately being driving under there. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions? There are none. Thank you very much for your presentation.